Part 35. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 352. Duan Yunzheng was a little unable to understand the existence of the immortal emperor realm. Isn't it the immortal emperor's soul in this black rotten wooden box? Even though this guy looks a little miserable now. But after all, it used to be an existence in the immortal emperor realm, so it shouldn't be so weak, right? Hearing Duan Yunzheng's words, the other immortal kings of the immortal realm were startled, and then they couldn't help but cast their eyes on the dark, rotten wooden box. Indeed, they had just ignored this. He believed that when Huang left in the past, he did not take action against the being in the black rotten wooden box because the other party no longer threatened the world. However, this does not mean that the other party really has no strength at all. The existence of the great Luo immortal emperor realm is inherently different from all acquired beings. It is a qualitative change. Even if only a partially incomplete soul is left, maybe this immortal emperor's soul can really do something about it? Thinking of this, the eyes of the immortal kings all focused on the black rotten wooden box. Perhaps, this is their only hope. However, the next answer from the immortal emperor's soul instantly shattered the expectations that had finally risen in the hearts of King Xian and others. If you want to eradicate the darkness rooted in the realm of darkness, it must be operated by a perfect Deluo immortal emperor. Although I still have some of the essence of the immortal emperor, after all, it is not a perfect state. I am just a broken body and cannot complete such a task. After all, the source of darkness comes from a Hunyuan existence, and its essence is extremely lofty. How can it be eliminated so easily? Doesn't that mean there's no other way? The ancient king said with a desperate bitter smile. Even if the dark realm is destroyed, it will not be able to unify the two realms. In that case, what will be the meaning of all their efforts? It will just be nothing more than drawing water from a bamboo basket. Is there any way? Maybe there is. In the black rotten wooden box, the voice of the immortal emperor's soul suddenly became ethereal and ethereal. Now we can only see if he had any backup plan left behind. King Mo was startled. What the senior said was, Huang. Yes, I am talking about the wilderness. The voice of the immortal emperor's soul came from inside the black rotten wooden box. Before he left in the past, he once cut off the eternity with one sword, cut out the vast sea of 10,000 realms, and isolated the darkness at the end of the sea of 10,000 realms. However, I think he should also know that even if the darkness is isolated, the darkness in the heavens and worlds cannot be eradicated. Perhaps, before he leaves, he may leave behind some arrangements and backup plans, and this is our only chance. Don't you think so, little one? At the end of the story, Immortal Emperor Soul suddenly changed the subject and asked Duan Yunzheng. Ah! What the senior said was, he. Duan Yunzheng was listening in fascination. How could he have thought that this big boss would bypass so many immortal kings and ask him directly? Infinite Heavenly Lord, it's really weird. There are so many immortal kings present, and you don't ask them. Ask me? Even though Pandeo is very confident in himself, now Pandeo's cultivation level is really just a little shrimp. Don't ask these immortal king bosses, ask me what to do. Duan Yunzheng is confused and doesn't know why. And all the immortal kings, seeing that Immortal Emperor Soul actually mentioned Duan Yunzheng in the end, could not help but turn their attention to Duan Yunzheng. Immortal Emperor Soul, does this sentence have a deeper meaning? Little guy, it's time like this. It involves life and death in all the worlds. How long do you plan to hide it? The black rotten wooden box trembled, and the Immortal Emperor's soul said meaningfully. How long will I hide? I am just a little supreme being, not even a true immortal, what do I have to hide? Duan Yunzheng wants to cry but has no tears. Why does this old guy always lead targets to him? What do you mean he wants to hide something? He is a little supreme, What can he hide? Of these big guys present, who is not? I can crush him to death with just one finger. Damn. Isn't this old guy trying to retaliate against me and make Pandeo feel uncomfortable on purpose? Duan Yunzhong complained crazily in his heart, and when facing the gazes of the immortal kings, he couldn't help but stiffen. Cold sweat breaks out on forehead. You have nothing to do with the wilderness. Seeing Duan Yunshen's expression of wanting to cry without tears, the immortal emperor's soul said softly. But you took something related to him, and that is the most important thing. Took something related to Huang? Duan Yunzhong was startled, and then he seemed to remember something, and felt that he had misunderstood this old guy. It turned out that he was not talking about himself, but the broken big thing he had obtained from the Sea of 10,000 Realms. Luo Jiankaiu. This old guy is so cruel. I worked hard, Dao Master, even at the expense of 1,000 years of skill, to get this broken Luo Jiankaiu from the Sea of 10,000 Realms. And now, the broken Luo sword embryo has not yet warmed up in his arms. This old guy actually asked me to hand it over? He could only kill with a nod. This move was really too much. You know, this guy just said I am warning myself that this broken sword embryo is an unknown weapon and needs to be thrown away as soon as possible. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 353. What? I haven't seen it, I don't know. Duan Yunzhong shook his head like a rattle, and immediately came up with 3 consecutive denials. Just kidding, this broken great Luo sword embryo, but he had gone through life and death, and finally obtained it from the Sea of 10,000 Realms. How could he do it so easily? Hand it over? In that case, Duan Yunzhong is no longer Duan Yunzhong. Even if he is a powerful person in the immortal king realm, he can't do it in person. This is a matter of principle. Little guy, you'd better take out the sword embryo. I won't lie to you. It is an ominous sword embryo. Throughout the ages, any existence that has a fate entangled with it has not had any good ending. Either die a violent death, or end up miserable like me now. If you don't want to face such an ending in the future, then hand over the sword embryo in time. It's also for your own good. The black rotten wooden box glowed slightly, and the immortal emperor's soul inside said in a deep voice. Damn old guy. Duan Yunzhong gritted his teeth and glared at the black rotten wooden box. He regretted it extremely now. He had known that in the Sea of 10,000 Realms, he didn't need to pay attention to the rotten wooden box at all and just brought the sword embryo back. He can save himself as much trouble as he does now. But now, even if he thinks about it, it's too late. The bitter fruit has already been brewed and he can only eat it by himself. We will not let you hand over the treasure in vain. If you hand over the treasure, we are willing to exchange it for 3 true immortal treasures and give you 2 volumes of the immortal king's scripture. How about it? King Xian said slowly. He did not take anything by force, but planned to exchange it with Duan Yunzhong. In fact, at their level, he was already a Taoist ancestor in the immortal realm. Duan Yunzhong was just a person in their eyes. Junior. As the ancestors of the immortal realm, the immortal kings naturally cannot do anything by force, because this will obviously damage their status. 3 true immortal treasures and 2 volumes of the immortal king's scripture? Duan Yunzhong turned his eyes and kept thinking in his heart. Judging from the current situation, the tattered sword embryo is obviously a great treasure. However, although the treasure is good, he doesn't know how to use it now. More importantly, he could vaguely sense that the soul of the immortal emperor in the black rotten wooden box did not deceive him. This tattered sword embryo may really contain ominous power, and any existence that has a fate entangled with it, will not end well. Therefore, although he did not say anything about keeping such a sword embryo beside him for a long time, Duan Yunzhong was still a little scared in his heart. And now, with the conditions offered by King Xian, although I still felt a little bit shortchanged, I could accept it anyway. Thinking of this, Duan Yunshen's face shook, revealing a just right look of pain. Then, one handle was broken into two parts, leaving only the lower half. The ancient sword embryo appeared in Duan Yunshen's palm and appeared in front of the immortal kings. The sword embryo was ancient and only half of it was left. The sword embryo was covered with rust and looked completely the same. It looks like a weapon that has been used for a long time and is about to be scrapped. There is no trace of anything strange or unpredictable at all. In fact, if the soul of the immortal emperor in this black rotten wooden box had not spoken, King Xian and others would not be able to help it. I wonder if this is a fake sword embryo that Duan Yunzheng brought out to fool them. Okay, this is the sword embryo. Duan Yunzheng said as he pushed the sword embryo in front of King Xian. Somehow, at this moment, he suddenly felt a sense of relief in his heart. It was like a dark cloud shrouding his heart was pushed away. It means parting the clouds and seeing the dawn. Let me see, what happened in the past that made Huangdu lose his weapon and break it into this. The black rotten wooden box trembled, and then a stream of light was transformed and attached to the ancient sword embryo. As this process progressed, the ancient sword embryo in the void was also blooming with infinite brilliance. The ancient sword embryo attached to the pieces of rust on the sword embryo slowly fell off piece by piece, as if going against time, revealing the original appearance of half of the sword embryo. As the pieces of rust fell off, one by one an extremely sharp aura slowly spread out from the ancient sword embryo, filling the surrounding area. That majestic aura even surpassed all the immortal kings. The sword energy surged, soaring straight into the sky, even the sea of 10,000 realms next to the dike boundary trembled. Seeing this scene, Duan Yunzheng couldn't help but open his eyes wide in shock. At this moment, he felt an emotion called regret, which he couldn't control from the bottom of his heart. Depressedness rose. Then, an emotion called resentment continued to rise. This old guy in the black rotten wooden box was really harmful. Why didn't he show his hand just now? If it had been like this just now, there was no way he could give up this great Loto sword embryo so easily. Now, even if he exchanged 3 pieces of true immortal treasures and 2 volumes of immortal king's scripture, he still felt like he had suffered a huge loss. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 354. The embryo of a half-hand Deludo sword revealed a supreme aura that towered over all worlds. The stronger the aura emanating from the Deludo sword embryo, the more ugly Duan Yunshen's face became. What a loss! What a loss! Looking at the Deludo sword embryo that was shining brightly at this moment and almost becoming the center of this world, Duan Yunshen's expression was extremely ugly. My God, I have never done such a loss-making business. The void slowly trembled. In the black column, under the urging of that part of the immortal emperor's soul, the great Loto sword embryo slowly revealed its own appearance. Moreover, an illusory river of history emerged, surrounding the great Loto sword embryo. The illusory river of time turned out to be blood-red and shrouded in an extremely ominous aura, which was horrifying. Such a long time. King Xian and others were stunned. They have never seen such a long river of time. Why does this long river of time appear blood-red? And feel ominous? This long river of time is the history related to this Deludo sword embryo. I have said that this is an extremely ominous weapon, and all beings that come into contact with it will be unable to escape the fate of ultimate destruction. The immortal emperor's soul in the black rotten wooden box sneered. There has never been an exception to this, whether it is me, Huang, or all the worlds. Unknown history. After hearing this, ancient King Xian and others all looked at the ancient sword embryo floating in the void. The light of the Supreme God radiated from the Deludo sword embryo. The holiness and splendor reached the extreme. There was no hint of ominousness at all. If it weren't for the blood-red, ominous river of time surrounding the sword embryo, King Xian and others would never believe it. This is an ominous sword embryo. Let me take a look at what happened in the past. Inside the black rotten wooden box, the immortal emperor's soul spoke deeply to himself. Then, under his push, the bloody river of time began to move forward slowly, tracing back the long history before the endless years. The long river of time moves forward in the opposite direction, showing all the scenes that happened before. But at the beginning, what was shown on the long river of time was a calm scene on the sea of all realms. There was nothing special about it. But the soul of the immortal emperor in the black rotten wooden box, he didn't take it seriously and continued to trace the history forward. Finally, when tracing back to the history of nearly 1,000,000 years ago, the picture finally changed. There were two creatures who came across the sea and reached the great Luo sword embryo. Where they are? They are two human beings, both with black hair disheveled, and tall and majestic figures. They have a majestic spirit that would swallow up all the heavens. A 9-color immortal cauldron hangs down. Thousands of black and yellow auras, filling them with one person is protecting him. An ancient bell of chaos is suspended above the head of another figure, with thousands of strands of chaotic fairy energy hanging down. It's them. After seeing this scene, the ruthless emperor, who had always remained calm, finally found it difficult to remain calm anymore, and there were waves hidden in the depths of his beautiful eyes. The two people on the screen were none other than Emperor Ye Tian and Emperor Wu Shi. She finally found a partner with him. Clues about their whereabouts? It was just as she guessed. After the two came to the immortal realm, they were directly teleported to the Sea of 10,000 Realms. Is this why their reputations never manifested in the immortal realm? Ruthless people. The emperor stared at the picture attentively, hoping to get more clues from it. King Xianwang and the others looked at the two people on the picture with strange expressions on their faces. Although they were only looking at each other from the ancient painting, however, the ancient king and others could feel that the two figures on the screen were extremely powerful. Their strength and realm had probably reached an unimaginable level. They were even stronger than them now. Are you above the immortal king realm? King Xian murmured to himself, with a strange look in his eyes. After some previous experiences, he had already learned about the existence of Emperor Ye Tian and Emperor Wu Shi from the ruthless emperor. I also know that these two people should have entered the immortal realm first before the ruthless emperor millions of years ago. However, what appears on this picture is also a scene from 1,000,000 years ago. In other words, within less than 10,000 years after the two of them came to the immortal realm, their cultivation level directly jumped from the world of mortals to a realm above the immortal king. What a speed of cultivation! How on earth did they do it? Moreover, according to what the immortal emperor's soul in the black rotten wooden box said, the upper limit of the strength of all the heavens and worlds has been locked, and there is no way to be born above the immortal king realm. But now, the cultivation of the two people on the screen is clearly above that of the immortal king realm. What's more important is that they achieve this through acquired practice, rather than being born. King Xian and others found it difficult to understand. At the same time, there was a vague sense of great expectation in my heart. They are eager to get a way to break through the immortal king realm. If this breakthrough method can really be obtained, the combat power of the entire immortal realm will undoubtedly increase several times, and its value will be simply immeasurable. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 355. There was silence between heaven and earth. All eyes were almost focused on Emperor Ye Tian and Emperor Ruthless on the screen. These two geniuses came from the lower realm. How on earth did he achieve a state above that of the immortal king in such a short period of time? This is the question that the immortal kings of the immortal realm most urgently want to know. On the ancient picture, Emperor Ye Tian and Emperor Wu Shi stood opposite each other, looking at their feet together. Their eyes seemed to have passed through the boundless sea of worlds, and they saw the great Logo sword embryo hidden deep in the sea of all worlds. Is this the weapon Huang used to wear in the past? Don't touch the foreboding weapon, otherwise disaster will befall you. Emperor Yetian and Emperor Wuxi were talking to each other. The content of the words could not help but make King Xianmo and others tremble. How did Emperor Yetian and Emperor Wuxi know that the great Logo sword embryo symbolized an unknown symbol? Only when you reach the realm of the immortal emperor can you know all of this. With their realm, they should not know all of this. I am afraid there is only one explanation, and that is that after the two came to the immortal realm, they were in the sea of 10,000 realms. Go up, maybe you have seen Huang. Or there are traces left by Huang. The origin of the sword embryo is extremely lofty. Even if Huang had traced its history in the past, he could only find that it fell from the sky. As for everything that came before, it is no longer possible to trace even half a cent. It seems that the real owner of the sword embryo is definitely a being who is superior to De Lugo. But I don't know why the sword embryo broke into two halves. Yetian sighed. According to Huang, the darkness at the end of the sea of all realms is resurrecting. Now that the rules of the immortal realm are incomplete, it may be difficult to give birth to an existence above the realm of the immortal king. Now the quasi-immortal emperor, there are only you and me. It seems that we must go to the end of the sea of 10,000 realms. Wuxi the great emperor said calmly. Haha, naturally we can't let Huang's be more beautiful than before. Yetian smiled calmly. However, unless one enters the realm of De Lugo, the source of darkness still cannot be eradicated. This half-broken great Logo sword embryo may be Huang's backup weapon. The Emperor Wuxi moved his gaze to the bottom of the ocean, and seemed to see the damaged and dim embryo of the great Logo sword. Using this sword embryo to fight the darkness, even the darkness will be tainted with the unknown. This is really an extremely ironic thing. Yetian murmured. You must know that the origin of darkness comes from an existence in the Hunyuan realm. However, using the great Logo sword embryo to defend against enemies and intersect with them will still cause quite a lot of trouble for them. It is enough to prove that even if the sword embryo exists in the Hunyuan realm, it is difficult to resist its power. It is really hard to imagine where this De Lugo sword embryo came from and who made it. It must be like this. In the message left by Huang, it seems that Hunyuan, who is about to be resurrected, has encountered a lot of trouble and cannot come to this world for a while, leaving us with more time. The great Emperor Wuxi nodded. The two talked calmly. But this scene caused boundless waves in the world. Sure enough, my guess was not wrong. The essence of this De Lugo sword embryo is far superior to De Lugo. From the black rotten wooden box, the immortal emperor's soul could be heard sighing. Even the mysterious Hunyuan existence was affected, and all of this should be the effect of this evil De Lugo sword embryo. Because, his true self, the first immortal emperor among the heavens of all realms, once held the great Logo sword embryo and was its first master. Then, the mysterious Hunyuan existence came after that. He infected it with a drop of blood, causing it to completely fall into darkness. This was the disaster of this immortal emperor. But how could it not be the disaster of the mysterious Hunyuan? Because, he dropped a drop of black blood, infecting the immortal emperor. When this immortal emperor was infected, he also had an inseparable relationship with him. Similarly, it also means that this mysterious Hunyuan existence has also established a relationship with De Lugo sword embryo. An inseparable relationship. In other words, the ominous power on the De Lugo sword embryo will also be infected with this mysterious Hunyuan being. And now, even this Hunyuan has been affected by the De Lugo sword, infected by the evil power attached to the embryo. The trajectory of its destiny has changed. This is enough to prove that the essence of the sword embryo that fell from the sky is so lofty that it even surpasses that mysterious Hunyuan existence above. Because only a higher level of power can have an impact on the fate of Hunyuan existence. However, why is such an ancient sword embryo with high essence and powerful power broken into two pieces now? Can Huang be able to? Is it possible to do this? The immortal emperor's soul in the black rotten wooden box was puzzled. At first, he thought it was Huang's doing, and he broke the Delugo sword embryo in half and buried it here. But now it seems that things seem to be it's not that simple. You must know that the embryo of this Delugo sword can even affect the existence of Hunyuan. At that time, Huang had just entered the realm of Delugo. How could he be so far-reaching about the nature of this sword? Where will the detached Delugo Jian embryo take action? The soul of the immortal emperor in the black rotten wooden box fell into deep thought. However, King Xianmo and other immortal kings of the immortal realm felt a huge sense of joy in their hearts at this time. It turns out that the mysterious Hunyuan being was trapped by trouble on the way to this world, and was unable to come to this world for a while. This also means that they will have more time to deal with and solve all problems. For the immortal domain and the immortal kings, this is definitely the best news at the moment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 356. As long as that Hunyuan existence cannot come for the time being, we will have a lot more time left. The ancient king breathed a sigh of relief, feeling that the burden on his heart could not help but become lighter. Before, the existence of the mysterious Hunyuan was like a sky-covering shadow, covering the heads of all the immortal kings present. Now this, although the shadow has not dissipated, it has obviously become darker. At the very least, before the mysterious Hunyuan arrives, everyone still has a chance to deal with matters in the dark realm. This is already a great luck. However, thinking of the words of the immortal emperor's soul in the black rotten wooden box, King Pan couldn't help but ask. Senior, are you saying that the Hunyuan being was also affected by the sword embryo? That's natural. In the black rotten wooden box, the sneer of the immortal emperor's soul came from. Do you know what the concept of the existence of Hunyuan realm is? Such powerful men have already closed down all timelines, their cause and effect cannot be undone, and all disasters and catastrophes cannot happen to them. Endless years ago, he said that if he wanted to reach this world, he would definitely reach this world. And all the dangers and waves encountered in the process will be turned into invisible. Cause and effect have been determined from the beginning and will never be changed. But now, during the process of traveling, this Hunyuan encountered an accident and his journey was delayed. This can only mean that something beyond the destiny of this Hunyuan has happened. In other words, the power of cause and effect and destiny were exerted on him again. In this case, there is only one possibility. That means a higher level of power has arrived and infected this Hunyuan. What kind of power can possess such great power? Since this Delugo sword embryo fell from the sky, all its owners have suffered unknown fate. Although this Hunyuan being had never directly held the great Lugo sword embryo, it had indirectly become its master because it had been infected by the Dark Immortal Emperor. That's why today's incident happened. The Immortal Emperor's soul in the black rotten wooden box sneered, and there was actually a chilling smell in his laughter. Even the existence of Hunyuan cannot escape the unknown infection of the sword embryo. The eyes of King Xian and others were filled with shock. At the same time, his eyes looking at the half-broken sword embryo were full of fear. What is the origin of the sword embryo, so that even Hunyuan existence cannot escape the influence of its power? It's not right. But suddenly, King Xian frowned, as if he thought of something. If this sword embryo represents something unknown, and even the existence of the Hunyuan realm cannot escape its influence, then why is Huang, one of its holders, unharmed? Hearing King Xian's question, several other immortal kings also nodded. King Xian is right. If all the masters of the sword embryo in the past generations will encounter unknown things, why is Huanghui the only exception? You know, he is also a great master. One of the owners of Lugo Jianfei, and he has held it for a long time. Logically speaking, if there was something ominous, it would have happened long ago, and it is impossible for him to be safe and sound until now. Oh, there is no harm, naturally there is a reason. In the black rotten wooden box, the immortal emperor's soul sneered. I didn't know it before, but later I figured out why. Because Huang has been in contact with that person before. Contaminated by its aura, the paths of destiny have a slight intersection. Perhaps, this is the reason why the great Luo sword embryo failed on Huang. Everything is inseparable from that person. Although the immortal emperor's soul did not name who it was. But King Xian and others had seen fragments of past history, and naturally they immediately guessed who the immortal emperor's soul was talking about. Lord of Heaven. In the past, Huang once asked the Lord of Heaven. The Lord of Heaven showed him the direction to Daluo. The fate of the two people has a slight intersection at this moment. Huang's body was also stained with a little aura of the Lord of Heaven. Perhaps, it was this insignificant aura that frightened this evil sword embryo and made it dare not infect Huang. Therefore, for endless years, the wilderness has been fine. Perhaps, this is the only explanation. However, when making this speculation, King Xian and others couldn't help but sigh. The fear of the Lord of God increased in my heart. What kind of supreme being should this Lord of God be? Just a wisp of aura that escaped was enough to intimidate the evil sword embryo that could infect the existence of Hunyuan, making it dare not move. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 357. So, the reason for everything is because of the sword embryo. Xian Wang and others looked back, looking at the Daluo sword embryo with complex and strange expressions in their eyes. No one had thought that the darkness sweeping across the world was caused by this ominous sword embryo. At the beginning, watching that period of ancient history, King Xian, ancient king, and others thought that the cause of this darkness was the arrival of the mysterious Hunyuan. But now it seems that things are far from that simple. All the gods, the world is as numerous as the sands of the Ganges River, and has an endless universe. Why did that mysterious Hunyuan existence only come to this universe? If it is a coincidence, then this coincidence is really too much. But in fact the real reason was actually because of the sword embryo. This ominous sword embryo first fell from the sky and fell into the hands of the first immortal emperor since the beginning of the world. Then, he was contaminated with the unknown, and then it attracted the mysterious Hunyuan being and brought disaster to him, leading to his eventual blackening and death. The irony is that the mysterious Hunyuan being attracted by the great Luo sword embryo, although it caused that the great Luo immortal emperor, the first one since the founding of the world, fell. However, he also had an intersection with this evil sword embryo. Therefore, the fate of the mysterious Hunyuan existence has also changed, and he has begun to contact the unknown, has been delayed in moving forward, and has never reached this land of heavens and worlds. An evil sword embryo that can infect even Hunyuan beings. At this time, after hearing everything, Duan Yunzheng felt shuddering. His eyes looking at the sword embryo were also full of fear. Infinite Heavenly Lord, Pandeo has also been in contact with the sword embryo for a short time just now. This sword embryo won't be entangled with me, right? Duan Yunzheng wanted to cry but had no tears. If he had known it, he would have followed the instructions of the immortal emperor's soul in the black rotten wooden box and not fished for the sword embryo at all. How could he have caused so many troubles like now? And, the most important thing is, he has been in contact with the Daluo sword embryo for a long time. Has he been locked by the opponent? If so, it would be really tragic. You know, even Daluo immortal emperor unable to escape the fate of being infected and falling, wouldn't he, a little supreme being, be so dead that not even the dregs will be left? If I'm not mistaken, you are also tainted with that person's aura. In the black rotten wooden box, the soul of the immortal emperor let out a horrifying laugh. Although I don't know how you came across that person, there is a high probability that nothing will happen to him like Na Huang. But it's hard to say. Even if you are killed suddenly on the spot later, it is normal and understandable. Depend on. Duan Yunzhong couldn't help but cursed. This guy is just watching the excitement and doesn't take it too seriously. Is there anyone who can curse people like this? In the black rotten wooden box, the soul of the immortal emperor sneered and ignored Duan Yunzhong. Instead, he continued to trace back to that historical scene. However, King Xianmo, King Pan, and other immortal kings of the immortal realm all cast their glances at Duan Yunzhong. There was something profound and surprising in their gazes. No one would have thought that it was just a supreme being. It can actually be related to that existence. What kind of mysterious lower realm is this? Not only can it cultivate such amazing and talented existences as the ruthless emperor, but even the Lord of God has been there. For a time, there was no doubt about this mystery. King Mo and others were very excited about the lower realm, thinking that they must go there in person when they have time in the future to investigate carefully. What is the difference in this lower realm? In the picture, Emperor Wuxi and Emperor Yetian no longer talked, but they went hand in hand to the depths of the Sea of 10,000 Realms. As for the great Logo Sword embryo, they continued to leave it on the spot and did not use it. Relating to the previous conversation between the two, everyone knew that Emperor Yetian and the two Emperor Wuxi should have gone to the depths of the Sea of all Realms to suppress the dark chaos there. Only two people went to the depths of the Sea of all Realms alone. Now that millions of years have passed, I don't know what happened to these two people. King Xian sighed, with a hint of reverence in his words. Even the other immortal kings were full of admiration. With the cultivation levels of Emperor Yetian and Emperor Wuxi, when they already knew the existence of the restriction, it was they were able to break the restriction and return to the immortal realm. But they did not do so. Instead, they tempered themselves on the Sea of all Realms and reached such a powerful state today. Moreover, in the end, they did not choose to return to the immortal realm. Instead, they traveled together to the depths of the Sea of all Realms to suppress the dark turmoil there, restore balance to the world, and bring peace to all living beings. Even the immortal kings couldn't help but admire this kind of courage and mind. The ruthless emperor's eyes turned dark. Emperor Wuxi and Emperor Yetian were both her former comrades in arms. If she hadn't been waiting for the return of the Lord of Heaven in the human world, she must have been with Emperor Yetian, and together with Emperor Wuxi, he rushed to the depths of the Sea of 10,000 Realms to suppress the ultimate darkness and chaos there. But now, after learning the whereabouts of the two of them, Emperor Wuxi's thoughts about rushing to the Sea of 10,000 Realms became even more intense. A bit thicker. Now it seems that the whereabouts of the Lord of Heaven are probably hidden in the depths of the Sea of 10,000 Realms. As long as she reaches the depths of the Sea of 10,000 Realms and meets up with Emperor Yetian and Emperor Wuxi, maybe she can find the answer you want. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 358. Seniors, please continue to look back and see if you can see the scenes related to the famine. King Xian cupped his hands to the soul of the immortal emperor in the black rotten wooden box. Now they have learned the news about Emperor Yetian and Emperor Wuxi from the past scene of the great Logo Sword embryo, but this is not enough. Everyone wants to know more. It is best to trace it back to something related to Huang. Even if you don't say it, I will do it. The immortal emperor's soul in the black rotten wooden box chuckled, and then continued to trace forward, trying to find clues related to Huang. Chaos does not remember years, and the years above the Sea of 10,000 Realms are also incalculable. Between Yetiandi and before Emperor Wuxi, the picture seemed to have returned to calm, and no other scenes appeared. There was only a dark and boundless Sea of 10,000 Realms, quietly rising and falling. After a long time, even the faces of King Xianmo and others could not help but a look of disappointment emerged. Could it be that I really couldn't see it? It seems that it cannot be traced back. Even the soul of the immortal emperor in the black rotten wooden box let out a sigh, feeling that there was no hope of continuing to trace back. However, just as the soul of the immortal emperor in the black rotten wooden box was preparing to end this time and space retrospective, in the picture above, a sudden change occurred. Two figures suddenly appeared on the screen. One of them, floating in white, was unparalleled in martial prowess. Although his whole body was shrouded in brilliant divine glory, everyone could still identify his identity instantly. It is Huang. And the other person, although there is no unparalleled fluctuation in his body, still makes everyone feel incomparable awe. Because, that person is the Lord of God. The Lord of Heaven appears together with Huang. King Xian and the others' bodies shook violently, their eyes widened, not wanting to miss any details related to the meeting between the two. Even the immortal emperor's soul inside the black rotten wooden box no longer made any sound. For a moment, there was silence between heaven and earth, and everyone was concentrating on the scene on the screen. Senior, are you saying that all the disasters in the world came from this sword embryo? On the screen, Huang spoke. He looked at the Delugo sword embryo in his hand, and his voice was full of disbelief. At this time, Huang had defeated the Dark Immortal Emperor and seemed to have been promoted to the realm of the Immortal Emperor. Nature. Qin Mu spoke, his voice extremely calm. But, it's just a sword embryo. If it can affect the fate of one or two people, it's understandable. But now this is the fate of hundreds of millions of creatures in all the heavens and worlds. Huang still finds it unimaginable. It's just a sword embryo, but it can affect the fate of all living things in the world. Is this really possible? Even those in the Delugo Immortal Emperor realm are unable to escape its influence. All the creatures in this world, even if taken in total, are not as lofty in nature as the great Lugo Immortal Emperor. In this way, even if it affects the entire universe, what is impossible? Qin Mu spoke, his voice calm, as if he was explaining an ordinary fact. In the past, this great Lugo sword embryo fell from an unknown place and happened to land in this world. The Dark Immortal Emperor was the first creature to obtain the great Lugo sword embryo, and then the disaster in the world began. Qin Mu said slowly. In terms of talent, the Dark Immortal Emperor actually has no chance of becoming an Immortal Emperor. It was because his fate was entangled with this sword embryo. After being tainted with a little aura of supremacy, he broke the shackles of his own destiny, got rid of his predetermined destiny, and finally became the great Lugo Immortal Emperor. But time is also destiny, what makes him successful will eventually destroy him. It was precisely because of this great Lugo sword embryo that the Hunyuan came, thus infecting the Dark Immortal Emperor, and was eventually killed by you, completely falling. The antecedents have been sown, and the results have naturally been determined. What? Are you saying that the Dark Immortal Emperor was actually achieved by the sword embryo? Huang was shocked. The news he learned from the Lord of Heaven subverted his knowledge. Nature. Qin Mu nodded lightly. The fate of all souls is determined. In the eyes of the truly strong, everything is an eternal moment. All living beings, from birth to death, have been arranged by the torrent of destiny at the moment of birth. This is the will of the great Dao. Within the endless and infinite multiverse, only by jumping out and achieving Delugo can one escape from this destined fate. Otherwise, no one can escape. When the Dark Immortal Emperor obtained this sword embryo in the past, he had not yet become a Delugo. And in the trajectory of his destiny, he could not achieve it in the end. It was precisely because he got this sword embryo that he changed his destiny and made him who he was in the future. This also laid the foundation for his downfall. It turned out to be like this. Huang was shocked and speechless. He originally thought that all the disasters in the world were caused by the Hunyuan of the past. But now after the Lord of Heaven told him, he knew the true reason for everything. It turns out that Hunyuan is not the cause of all disasters. The real cause has already been planted. The coming of that dark Hunyuan is nothing more than the evil consequences of established causes and conditions. Please subscribe, please customize. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 359. The fate of the Dark Immortal Emperor was changed just now because of a sword embryo. Outside the screen, King Xian and the others couldn't help but look stunned after hearing the news. The black rotten wooden box that carries part of the Immortal Emperor's soul is even more shining, and one can feel the unrest in his heart. After all, no matter who it is, if they learn that all their achievements come from external objects instead of themselves, they will find it difficult to remain calm and their hearts will be filled with boundless turmoil. It turned out to be like this, it turned out to be like this, ha 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 ha. Suddenly, in the black rotten wooden box, the slightly sad laughter of the Immortal Emperor's soul came. After I got this sword embryo, I realized something was wrong. Opportunities are at my disposal, and destiny is always by my side. In just a million years, I have transcended all realms, surpassed all the strong men in ancient times, and achieved that realm, just like a dream. But I never thought that all this was really just a dream, really just a dream. The voice of the Immortal Emperor's soul is very desolate and full of sadness. This is a result that he cannot accept. Now only part of the soul is there. If Wuqi's true body is here, I am afraid it will disturb the Taoist heart, although it will not change from the Deluo realm. Falling, but it also has an immeasurable impact. Just a sword embryo can change the destiny of a living being and make it become a great Luo. King Xian and others still find it unbelievable. With the almost damaged ancient sword embryo in front of them, it is really difficult to connect it with several immortal emperors and the future destiny of all heavens and worlds. Since the fate of all living beings has been determined, shouldn't the position of Deluo neither increase nor decrease? How can latecomers get rid of barriers and achieve great success? In the picture, Huang asked another question. According to Qin Mu, the fate of all acquired creatures has been determined from the moment they were born. As we all know, Deluo is beyond destiny and cannot be speculated. An unimaginable existence. Now that it has been observed and its destiny is perceived, then this creature is destined to be unable to achieve Deluo. This is an unsolvable cycle and a paradox that is difficult to violate. In this case, isn't it the case that these creatures, there are hundreds of millions of incarnated beings in all the worlds in the world, but they can't give birth to a being who has achieved great success? That's the truth. Qin Mu smiled calmly. When chaos has not yet opened and the road has not yet been perfected, there is an opportunity to achieve greatness. Now that the great road is perfect and everything is in the most perfect state, the acquired souls will naturally not be able to achieve Deluo. All Deluo are preserved from ancient times. But there is also the possibility for acquired souls to achieve the path of Deluo. What's possible? Huang couldn't help but ask. There are two possibilities for this. Qin Mu showed a meaningful smile. First, there is the death of the old Deluo existence. Although the existence of Deluo is eternal and free, and is immortal from ancient times, even if it is killed, as long as there is a trace of concept left, it will be reborn and come back. From this point of view, Deluo seems to be immortal, but that is not the case. Even if Deluo exists, there will be moments of decay and destruction. All he needs to do is erase all concepts and thoughts related to it in the universe, and he will naturally die. However, Deluo of the same level cannot do this with each other. As for the more powerful experts, ordinary Deluo would not provoke them at all. In a battle with the same Deluo, the most that can be done is to obliterate the opponent, but the concept still exists in 10,000 realms. In this way, after thousands of years of chaos, it will return again sooner or later. However, when this great Luo died, the path he controlled was in a state of ownerlessness. His fruit status was also deprived of him. There is a certain number of Delugo in this endless multiverse ocean. When a great Lugo falls, in order to make up for what is missing, Deo will send blessings. I don't know why this blessing comes. It may be a skill, it may be a chance, it may be a fruit, anything is possible. For those born after receiving this blessing, their fate will change and become chaotic, making it difficult to discern the way forward. This is the great road ascending to its spirit. Granting them the opportunity to achieve Delugo, this is an unimaginable opportunity for all acquired beings. However, it is not so easy to seize this opportunity. The great road will only give opportunities, but will not interfere too much. This acquired soul that got the opportunity only needs to do one thing, and that is to achieve the position of Delugo before the fallen Delugo returns, and deprive him of its Deo fruit. In this way, this acquired spirit took the place of the previously fallen Delugo and became the new Delugo. As for the fallen Delugo existence, it naturally fell completely and could never be reborn again. This is an extremely cruel competitive relationship. If that acquired soul was born, before the fallen Delugo was reborn, he still had not ascended to the position of Delugo. Then when the great Lugo returns, it will be the death of this acquired creature. At that time, Deo will withdraw its blessings and give Deo fruit to this Delugo again. This is the first way for acquired beings to achieve Delugo. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 360. Delugo changes, the great road bestows fruition status. Era murmured to himself. He did not expect that the acquired soul would need to go through such a magnificent journey to become a Delugo. And the birth of a new Delugo is so difficult. If the old Delugo had not fallen, there would have been no new Delugo born. Moreover, if a new Delugo is to be born, it must be at the expense of the life of the old Delugo. The two are eternal and mortal enemies. Is this the reason why the Hunyuan being came to this world and infected the immortal emperor? Huang couldn't help but ask. Before, he had learned that Delugo in this world, the Delugo immortal emperor who was the first to attain enlightenment, followed the same path as Hunyuan. But now it seems, the reason why the Hunyuan came to this world, is it because of the great Lugo immortal emperor? The great Lugo immortal emperor in this world was selected by Deo to replace the Hunyuan person? And that great Lugo immortal emperor? Lugo Jiankaiu appeared from a big prop. Could it be the medium used to change his destiny? In Wang's mind all these thoughts popped up in an instant. And outside of that ancient picture, the ancient King Xian Wang and others had the same idea as Huang. However, facing Wang's speculation, the Lord of Heaven transformed by Qin Mu slowly shook his head. It's not true. The arrival of the Hunyuan was indeed due to the influence of the great Lugo sword embryo, but it was not related to the change of fruit status. The change of Delugo's fruition status only involves the relationship between the acquired being and Delugo. However, the change of Hunyuan fruit position involves the existence of Hunyuan and Delugo, and the two are not the same. As for the sword embryo, it is the second possibility, the second way. The second way. Wang's whole body was shocked, and then he remembered what the Lord of Heaven had just said to him. There are two possibilities for the acquired spiritual desire to be promoted to the Delugo realm. What he just said was just the first one. Zhe Wang's eyes were full of expectation. Qin Mu slowly said. As for the second way, there are acquired beings who obtain things related to the supreme existence above the Hunyuan realm, which also changes the trajectory of destiny. In this way, there is also the possibility of transcending the acquired world and becoming a great Lugo. Things related to the supreme being. Huang murmured to himself. Is the dark immortal emperor the Delugo who was transformed by this change of destiny? Supreme existence, what kind of existence should it be? Even though Huang is now promoted to Delugo, he still feels shocked in his heart. In order for the acquired spiritual desire to achieve greatness, it must be blessed by the great road and change the trajectory of destiny. But now, just items related to the Supreme Being can have the same effect as the blessing of the Great Avenue. In this way, isn't the so-called Supreme Existence an existence that can be compared with the Great Deo? Naturally, not any item related to the Supreme Being will do. It must be a Supreme Being who uses his mind to practice strange things. Chin Mu said slowly. However, the existences above Hunyuan are all detached existences from the Great Deo. They naturally hold some authority. Being able to do this can create the body of Deluo. So it turns out that this great Luo sword embryo seems to be something shaped by a Supreme Being. It was precisely because the Dark Immortal Emperor obtained this great Luo sword embryo that he transcended the day after tomorrow and achieved the great Luo realm. Huang nodded and said, I just don't know which Supreme Being it is, and what is the meaning of doing this. Huang is puzzled. Since you are already a being that transcends the Great Road, why do you need to do such things? Although the Supreme Being is not without desires and desires, it should only need things related to itself. Or some supreme treasure can make his heart move. How can a great Luo in a mere part of the universe be able to enter the opponent's eyes? Ordinary Supreme would naturally not do such a thing. Qin Mu glanced at Deluo Jianfei and continued. But this one is a little different. The Supreme Being born in all the heavens and worlds, and the infinite universe, only the way he cultivates can do these things. Who is it? Huang held his breath, feeling that the biggest secret in the world was about to unfold before his eyes. Outside the ancient scene, King Xian Mo and others were also focused on it. These secrets involving the most powerful existence in the endless infinite multiverse, like them the existence of such a realm cannot be known at any time. Rehu. Qin Mu said calmly. Although there were only 2 words, when he mentioned this name, the world seemed to feel it. It seemed to be trembling. The 9 heavens rumbled, and even the boundless earth trembled. Then it is the fear that originates from the origin, like the greatest disaster and natural enemy that faces all sentient and heartless creatures. Rehu, what a presence that is! Huang murmured to himself. Rehu, the controller of one of the kalpas in all the heavens and worlds, in the endless and infinite multiverse, uses tribulations to attain enlightenment and transcendence. In this endless ocean of multiverses, almost every immeasurable calamity is caused by him. He is the destroyer of all living things, the natural enemy of all living things, even the natural enemy of all heartless things. Wherever it passes, the universe collapses, all living things fall, and there is no trace in the universe. Please subscribe, please customize. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 361. The leader of one of the tribulations in the world. Huangziu, just this title is enough to make people feel an unparalleled sense of heaviness. Even the supreme Deluo existence in the eyes of acquired souls is as childish as a child in front of the opponent, and can even be shaped at will. Even the superior Hunyuan was unknowingly infected by the other party's power without even knowing it. This alone is enough to know how terrifying and supreme this Rehu is. Rehu, who uses tribulations to prove his way, often sets off boundless killing tribulations in this endless world, and then tribulations sweep through the immeasurable heavens. Except for the Supreme Being, no other living being can escape. Of course, the Supreme Being occasionally comes into play because it is associated with beings related to it. However, whether other Supreme Beings enter the game or not depends on his thoughts. If you want to enter a catastrophe, you can do so at any time. If you want to escape from a catastrophe, it is naturally very simple. Equality beings are already at the same level in controlling all things. There is no distinction, no superiority or inferiority. Therefore, the fight between the supreme beings should just add color to the long and boring years. There is also a gap between the supreme and the supreme, who will use the time of infinite tribulations to have a fight, which can be regarded as a competition. Even if you lose, you just lose your face. However, except for the Supreme Being, other living beings in the heavens and worlds are unable to escape. Even if he is as noble as Deluo Hunyuan, he cannot resist it when it comes time to suffer calamity. Generally speaking, those who practice to a state above Deluo are already invulnerable to all laws and all calamities. However, in the face of the immeasurable calamity caused by Rahu, even a noble person like Deluo Hunyuan will still fall into calamity and cannot help it. 9 times out of 10, the beings above Deluo in the endless infinite multiverse all fell after the rise of countless tribulations. Otherwise, under normal circumstances, Deluo is omniscient and omnipotent, and can be called immortal, and nothing can kill them. Even if they encounter a being stronger than them, they will seek advantages and avoid disadvantages and avoid them. Only when immeasurable tribulations arise, will one be deceived of the secret of heaven, unaware of the time of heaven, and thus fall sadly. The Hunyuan that came to this world before died in the last immeasurable calamity. Now countless years of chaos have passed, but I never thought that he would be involved with Luohu again. It is really fate, and I am afraid that this time, I will not have the same good luck as last time. Infinite tribulations, supreme struggle. Era murmured to himself, unable to help but feel a suffocating pressure. Even King Xian and others in front of the ancient painting were stunned for a moment, not knowing what to say. At this moment, in their eyes, this endless world has turned into a huge chess game. The people who play chess are the supreme beings, and they are the pieces on the chessboard. No, maybe they are not even qualified to be pawns. Only those beings above the Deluo realm are probably qualified to become pawns in the hands of this supreme being. As for all these living beings, they are just embellishments on this big game of chess. Since the king is supreme, why bother fighting with all living beings? These billions of sentient beings are probably not even ants or motes of dust in the eyes of the supreme beings. If this is the case, why do they have to fight against all sentient beings and set off such a catastrophe, leaving all living beings with nowhere to escape? Huang said to himself, with a hint of indignation in his voice, as if he was dissatisfied with the supreme existence in the dark. In his opinion, the reason why strong people are strong is that they don't know how to do it. Torturing the weak. But now, this is the way the supreme being in this endless world behaves. Facing the immeasurable killings caused by Rahu, instead of stopping them, they all join the game like chess players, fighting for each other at the cost of the lives of all souls. Game. How can such behavior be called supreme? You have been promoted to Deluo, but your horizons cannot keep up for the time being. How could things be so simple? Qin Mu slowly shook his head. Do you know that although Rahu is the person who initiates countless tribulations, all of this is tacitly approved by the great Dao? As the founder of all sentient beings, even the great Dao acquiesces to the existence of countless kalpas. What reason do all sentient beings have to refute? Do you know why this avenue acquiesces? Because everything in the heavens is determined, including the existence of living beings. If endless creatures continue to multiply indefinitely, even the great Dao will not be able to carry them all in the end. Therefore, the meaning of existence for immeasurable kalpas is to reduce and seek emptiness, to maintain the better operation of this endless sea of infinite multiverses and to exist for a longer time. This is something that even the Supreme Being cannot stop, nor is it willing to stop. Otherwise, if there were no existence of immeasurable calamities, after eternity, the great Dao would autonomously destroy all the heavens in the universe and obliterate all sentient and ruthless existences. Reenact chaos and start a new era.